It's finally spring, and I am feeling suddenly motivated to finish all of my projects. These two bins right here are filled with half-finished projects or things that have barely even been started. I've got my handy notebook and 2 spring-colored pens. And my goal by the end of this video is to figure out which of these projects I'm actually going to finish, figure out which ones are going back into the potential yarn for other WIPs, and figure out which ones I'm going to frog entirely. And then hopefully make myself a plan for what I'm going to get accomplished in April. I think the best way to start is just going to be to start going through things one bin at a time. It looks like a lot here, but I'm already seeing some things that are just yarns that I've put together for future projects, and I don't want that to actually be in the WIP pile because they're not actually WIPs yet, and I feel like mentally that does something to me, but we'll get back into that later. So let's just sort for now by things that are actually projects that may need to be finished and things that are just yarn. So let's start with this one. I have my Salty Days sweater, which looks like a finished object, but actually I do need to do some repair on it, which is why it's in the WIP bin. Oh my gosh, this one I cannot wait to finish. This is definitely going to be a finish and definitely going to be something I want to work on in April. This is my Battenberg blanket. It's so pretty. It's like halfway done, maybe. I'll do more examining on that in a bit when we make plans for the month, but this is for sure a WIP and also for sure a finish. Pull that back together. I think I'm gonna find a lot of things in here, like this hat, which is literally all it has left is one end to weave in. I need to take my stitch marker off and I need to block it. That is literally it. But because I finished this while we were traveling and it was so hard to have enough time to be still to block something, enough water to block something, I just never actually finished anything. So that's gonna be a quick one. Here's the first one that I really haven't decided about yet because this has been lingering for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but I could definitely go back in the project page and see. I feel like, okay, the project name is coming to mind. I'm like, I needed to think about that for a second. This is the Tessellated sweater. It is a colorwork, I guess you could say, sweater by Andrea Mowry. It's something I started for Rhinebeck years ago and did not finish. I'm also going, oh yeah, this is where my float tote went. I've kind of been looking for this one. So yeah, that's definitely a WIP, but I'm undecided on that so far. Last thing here in the first bin, I don't think is actually a project. Yes, so I just found a yarn cozy. I also found yarn and more yarn that is all left over from a project that I completed that went into this bag. So I guess I'm keeping this together because I might do something with these yarns in the future, but there's no reason that they really need to be kept like this. It'd probably be easier for my brain if it was in a Ziploc bag where I could actually see what it was. So this is not a WIP. It may not even be a future project. It's definitely just yarn. First bin is empty. Let's move on to the second one. Pretty quickly, I found a lot more things that are just yarn. I do have loose plans for some of these things. For example, I'm hanging on to this Knit Picks palette yarn because it is something that I use when I make stockings, and I would love to make Toaster a stocking in the future, but it hasn't been cast on yet, so it needs to go in the yarn pile. This is leftovers from a recent project, and this has plans to be a hat, but again, they haven't been started yet. Potentially this is going to be a sweater, but I don't want the pressure right now, so it's going into the yarn pile. All right, now things are getting interesting because I just found a swatch out of this really pretty yarn from the Little Wolf Knits. Aha, my focus was off. Now I fixed it though. This is a really pretty yarn from the Little Wolf Knits that came out a couple years ago when the Barbie movie came out. So it is a Barbie yarn. I think I was planning to make a tank top maybe. I can see that I have the 2 fingering weight yarns here that I held double for this. And I know that I have one more skein of this somewhere. I think it's already upstairs in my stash. So again, this is, I guess we can kind of consider our first frog. I'm not actually going to frog this. I'm just going to keep it all together because this is no longer a project. This is yarn. We've got more leftovers from various projects that I finished the last time we were staying in the van. I will be going back through these and like winding them up properly and deciding what to do with them. I think for some of them, they will go into my scrap bin where I could then incorporate them into different projects. But some of these are more rare fibers and plies that I might just not have any plans for right now. And it's hard for me sometimes to hold on to yarn that I don't feel like I'm going to work with. So I'll need to do a little more thinking on that. Okay, this bag here, let's talk about it. These are my teaching needles. I've used them for many tutorials because they are light colored, and then when you have a dark yarn, it's very easy to see the stitches. So this little bag here, I've kind of kept together as like a teaching kit, but I haven't really done a lot of tutorials lately. I don't have the setup to do it. It just doesn't really make sense to do so. It also looks like I was maybe playing around with making a DK weight yarn cozy. That is something that I want to do at some point, but I have no clue what I did with this. So it's really serving me absolutely no purpose. I feel like these yarns might become something that goes to donation. There's a great place here in Nashville that I can take donations to. So putting it in the yarn and tools pile for now, save that Ziploc bag for later. Again, I just don't want things that are like packaged together, just waiting for me to work on right now that I'm not actually excited to do. I found a couple of socks that it looks like I started but did not finish, so we'll see what happens to those. I think this might be part of my blanket of knowledge. Is that right? I gotta figure that out. More leftover yarn from recent projects. I totally forgot about this. This is the West Knits shawl from 2 years ago. It was one that had to be restarted for very significant reasons, of course, and I was happy to do that. But once I restarted it, I really lost my mojo. It's really pretty. The yarn is lovely. I've got all of it here. It is Ruby and Roses. Oh my goodness. And we're finding a yarn cozy in there. Anyway, it's really lovely. It's Ruby and Roses. I love all of the yarn, but I feel like this project has maybe gone past its prime. Yeah, so I guess we'll add the cozy. It looks like I might have run out of yarn here. I don't even know what this is. Ah, mystery solved. I started a sock with, I do know the yarn, but I didn't realize I already started like almost a whole sock. Come on, Natalie. And I put that away. So this all goes together. This is from a sock blank. So another project for the WIP pile. Luckily, it looks like I kept a lot of my labels, so I'll just be pairing these back together as I sort things out. Toasters, join the party. You gonna help? All right, I just have one last bag here, and I kind of remember just shoving things into this project bag as we were rounding out the year, but maybe it actually looks like I did sort of organize it. I think this is all just yarn from Sockmas from last year. I've got an extra skein. I've got some tools in here. I've got all the project bags. So yeah, that actually is not as bad as I thought. It looks like it's just yarn that I can incorporate back into my stash. We have our yarn pile and our WIP pile. I would say they're about the same size. The most responsible thing for me to do is tackle the thing that I am dreading the most, which is going through this yarn. So I'm gonna sort of do that at least halfway. What I'm gonna do right now is just pull out all of the yarns that I know that I want to work with in the future and put them into little baggies and just put them away. I'm not gonna fuss with making them perfect. Past me would totally want to rewind everything, but I will deal with that when I get to the project. I just need them organized with their labels and with their friends. Then any of the yarn that I don't see myself working on, I do have a bin. I've repurposed one of the bins over here for donations that I can take and give to somebody who is likely to use them. So that will be a perfect way, I think, to get started and yeah, do the thing that I don't want to do first. okay, it already feels so good. I didn't end up getting rid of that much yarn. Most of it just went into this basket, which is what I need to take upstairs to where I have my stash and put away. And will I use all of the yarn in this basket? Probably not, but it's a start. It's, little bits at a time that really help to maintain my stash. And it feels really good to let go of some of that yarn that I wasn't thinking about on the daily, of course not, but every time I did look at it, I was like, oh man, I was gonna start that project and I didn't, or I started that project and it didn't work out. And it was just, a little bit of a nag in the back of my mind. So it's nice to see some of those things go. Something I can't bring myself to get rid of right now, and I don't know if I could give this to somebody else because I don't know if it's enough, I need to do some weighing, is my yarn from Alaska, because this right here is Kivute yarn, which is a really rare fiber. It's really soft, really warm, and it's quite expensive. And I want it to be used, but I have no use for it right now. So the thing I think I'm gonna do is maybe just keep these yarns together with their tags, and if I have something in mind in the next year or two, I will make that, but eventually I just want this to get used. So if you can think of anything that could be done with a small amount of Kivute, I did make actually, let's talk about that. So I made this Musselburgh hat. So this part right here that is the lining of the head is Kivute. Oh, there's another stitch marker in there that I didn't see before. And then this one is a yak and, let's see, merino and nylon blend. And both of these yarns I got in Alaska. They're hand dyed in Alaska, so it's a very special hat. So I feel like I've already gotten what I want out of it. And you know what? What the heck? Let's weigh this right now. This is what we're here doing today, right? So might as well figure out the math. So there are 13 grams of this yarn left. The hat in total is about 100 grams. This is about 33 grams, and doing a little bit of math, I figured out that, let's see, I wrote it down, about 67 grams of the 100 grams, is it 67? Actually, I think it was about 90 in total, but anyway, about 67 grams was all this yarn, which left this to be about 25 grams. I might have said some of the numbers wrong, but the math is right. Basically, this is about half of what you would need to do the lining of a Musselburgh hat. So I don't feel like that's something I could give to somebody as a project because obviously you're not going to have enough. So yeah, I don't know yet what to do with it, and that's okay. I'm going to get myself, I have some extra Ziploc bags that have been used for different yarn things that I can reuse for this. So that's going to go into its own Ziploc bag and be kept until I can make a better decision on it. Now that the yarny decisions are out of the way, it's time for the fun part, at least for me, which is project planning. And I already see 3 projects over here that I know for sure I want to finish. So I want to pull those out and plan them first. I feel like that's a good way to approach it rather than going through all of these WIPs and making decisions right now. Seeing what is drawing out to me the most, what I'm most excited about, and getting that planned, and then going back and seeing what I actually have the time and mental space for. Let's start with this one since you just saw it. I am obviously going to finish this. I just need to weave in an end and block it. That's so silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this down in my handy little notebook here. And then once I get all 3 projects down and kind of how much I have left on each of them, we'll make a plan for April. Somehow I've already lost, oh wait, I found it. The next thing that I am highly motivated to finish is my Salty Days sweater. I also turned up the leftover yarn when I was going through everything. So what's left to do in this project? Well, a couple of things that I still haven't decided on. One for sure, I went back and I made one of the arms longer than the other, so I've got to fix that. So what that's going to look like, I think it's this one. I need to go back in somewhere like around here, cut out a row, detach this, knit a few more rows, and then reattach. Actually, I think that's wrong. I feel like I had to re-knit all of this as well. Ooh, help me remember, Natalie. This is why I should have done it sooner. So definitely one arm is longer than the other, and the longer one is correct. But now I'm thinking maybe I didn't have to cut into things. Maybe I hadn't finished that sleeve yet, and I just tried it out longer and then finished the sleeve, because I don't see any ends in here where I would have reattached things. So I don't see why I couldn't make it the easiest as possible on myself and cut out this knit row right here. I think that would be possible. And then I can add the rows that I need in the ribbing, reattach with a knit row, and that should be fine. If things do go horribly wrong, I can just completely reknit this whole part. That would be not the greatest thing, but it wouldn't be horrible or terrible. I do have enough yarn to make that happen, just in case I can't frog the mohair. Then the last thing that I really want to do and need to do on this, I think I will like wearing it so much more, is I want to deal with the bottom here. I think I want to take off the ribbing and maybe try a split hem. For me, when I put this on, it's just too narrow and long when it gets to the hip part, and I just don't like the way that it looks on me. And I think I'll be so much happier with it if I just fix that part, and I might as well do it all right now. I realized when I went back and finished my travel blanket, which I finished this past week, that my gauge changed, and I don't want that to happen with this sweater. I just finished what's finished now a few months ago, and so I feel like it's best for me to go ahead and get it done while hopefully I still am like, one, almost barely remembering what to do, and then also have the same gauge. So for the salty days, I have put all the sleeve things as one item, and then I separated out the rest of it because I feel like it's really a lot to do. Detaching the bottom hem is going to take a while. I then need to figure out what the heck I'm going to do for the split hem. I need to block it, and I need to bind it off again. And you can see I want to switch these. I want to block it first to make sure I like it before doing that sewn bind off. The last project that I want to tackle this upcoming month is my Battenberg blanket. It will feel so good if I can complete a second blanket before we start traveling again, especially because this one is a much longer term WIP. I actually started this one in July or maybe even June of 2023. I do have a pretty good start on this blanket. I am not 100% sure how far into it I am, but I can count the squares right now and see. I'm really glad that I have Ravelry project page notes and pictures of these things, or else I would never be able to figure out what the heck I was doing. So I have figured out that I am going to have 16 squares going across. Right now, this is 6. This is the 7th one, and I'm like halfway through on the other side here, adding in squares for the 7th one and adding in on the 8th one. All that to say, I'm about 40% of the way done with this blanket, which is great. I hope that I can get the other 60% done in April. I keep confusing myself on the math, but I think that I figured it out. So I have 84 squares left to add that I actually have to create. The other ones are already created, which I think is why I kept getting the math wrong, which means I'm better off than I thought because I only have about 30% of the blanket left to do. Kind of. I think it doesn't look like that because all the squares that are colorful have already been made. Yeah, I think that's right. I think I just figured it out. But anyway, I have 84 squares left to make and then join. And then I have a border. So I'm not doing as bad as I thought, which makes me feel really good. Okay, let's talk plans, because as much as I would love to just start tackling all of these right away, I know that I work better if I just kind of work through one thing at a time. If I just have one scheduled thing in my knitting, crochet, spinning, crafty circle. So I think let's start with the easiest thing. I'm going to weave in this end and block this tomorrow. I'm not going to do it tonight because I got a lot going on tonight, but I am going to get that done tomorrow. It's March right now. It's March for the next few days. So this is not even coming into April. It's not even a question. Second, I'm going to get started on salty days because I really don't want to. I really want to finish, but I really don't want to do it. So I think starting on salty days is going to be the best thing for me to do. I can get the sleeve part done and reknit and reattached almost in like a weekend. So I think I might try to attack that. Ooh, I don't have a weekend this weekend. I will look at it on the calendar, but I think basically getting the sleeve redone is first priority. And then going ahead and detaching the bottom hem and getting that knitting started. I think once I have that started, it will then become a project that is very easy for me to take around with me. Once I get that started, I will just bring it around with me and knit until I can do the sewn bind off. So hopefully I can get the Salty Days finished up in the first week and a half of April, which then leaves me the rest of April to tackle the Battenberg. All right, I'm taking back a little bit of what I said earlier because looking at the calendar, I have no way to finish the Battenberg blanket by the time I need to if I don't overlap it with the Salty Days. So here's what I tried first. I figured if I finish the Salty Days by April 10th, that gives me about a week and a half. Honestly, I guess it gives me 10 days to get that done. And then I didn't start the Battenberg blanket until the 11th. I would only have, I think I figured 8 days to finish attaching all of the squares, leaving me 3 days to do the blanket because I want to finish, or sorry, the border. I want to finish this blanket by April 20th because that is the Sunday before we leave in the van. And I want to give myself like some buffer space. I know that's going to be a busy time. I don't want to be like rushing to finish a blanket project in that last week. So April 20th is the goal for the finishing of the Battenberg blanket, but I don't think I can wait to start until after I finish Salty Days on the 10th. So I went back through. It was going to be like 10 of those squares a day, and I just know that's not possible. That's a ton of crocheting. So I went back through and I said, okay, what if instead I focus on getting just Salty Days set up? So fixing that sleeve first, I can do that, and then detaching the bottom hem and getting it restarted. And if I can get all of that done in the first few days of April, then that project can just start to become like my easy project, right? I'll just be knitting on it when I can. And then I can introduce the Battenberg blanket in as my, quota project. This is the way my brain thinks. I don't know. So that's the new goal. I will get the Salty Days, fix the sleeve, get the bottom hem set up so that I'm knitting on it by April 4th. And if I start my Battenberg blanket on April 5th, then I should be able to do about 6 squares per day, which is much more realistic. That was actually what I was doing originally when I was making my colorful squares, and then it takes just a little bit longer to make the neutral squares and attach them. So it'll still be difficult, but much more doable than 10 squares a day. I'm super happy with this. Like, this is what I wanted to get out of today. A solid plan. I've pulled the projects out. I now know what I need to do. I cleared the clutter. The only thing left for me to do is go over these other lingering projects. We are not going to drag this out. I have been thinking about this while sorting through the projects that I'm really excited about, and I know exactly what I want to do. I truly thought when I started this video today that I was going to feel really motivated to finish this, and I just don't. I don't think I'm going to finish the Tessellated. It's okay, I guess. I feel a little bit guilty about it because I was really excited when I started it. I bought beautiful yarn. I was very motivated, but I'm just not feeling it anymore, and I don't think I'm going to finish it. So what should I do with it? I feel like I should have more yarn somewhere. Ooh, a tape measure. Nice. I feel like I should have more yarn somewhere, but this is all that I have left. I have one more ball of this main color. I love this yarn, by the way. A little more spin cycle, a little more mohair, and that just doesn't even seem right. There should be more yarn for this project. I think. I don't know. I'm kind of confused. And I may have to wait a little while to see what turns up, but I would almost love to gift this to somebody who does want to finish it. I know it will take some work because you'll kind of have to mess with the gauge a little bit to try to match mine. I mean, it's supposedly pretty close to the pattern gauge, but I don't want to frog it because that's going to be more work than it's really worth. But I could just give it on to somebody who wants to finish it. Luckily, I have my notes in Ravelry, so I can tell you that I was making the size 3, which is 42 inches, and my gauge was just a touch larger, which means my final bust is actually more like 43 inches. So if that would fit you, There you go. I also know that I added 2 inches of length to the body for a final body measurement of 12 inches rather than 10, so it's not super cropped. And looking at the yarn, I think this actually is all the yarn that you need. You could also make the vest. So yeah, if you are somebody who would like to finish this sweater, whether it's for you or for somebody else, send me an email and I would be happy to give this to you, because that would make me so much happier to see somebody else get to have this yarn. You don't even have to make this. If you want to frog this, have at it. But it would make me so much happier for somebody else to use this rather than it just sit there. In a similar vein, I have decided that I'm not going to finish this project either. This is a shawl, so it'll be much more, universal. But yeah, if you were thinking about making a West Knit shawl, maybe you made this one and you loved it. It looks like, I think I was at the end of clue 2, and I think I did make it to the end here. I'm gonna switch all of these things to cords so that I can reclaim, I didn't even realize, reclaim some of my, what are these called? My cords for my interchangeable needles. I'm going to take those back, sorry, but I will put it on cords so that it's all ready to go. And then I have all this beautiful yarn that is ready to go with it. I also have the labels. So yeah, I'm gonna pack these up and see if anyone emails me and wants to finish these projects, or again, take the yarn and do with it what you want. That is so much better. This is like, can you even tell? Like, I'm so much happier to do that than to feel the pressure to finish these. If you were hoping I was gonna frog something, don't worry, we're gonna do it right now because this little yarn cozy right here, I must have run out of yarn on. I can't tell if that or like I had reached the point, I had reached the point where I'm like almost ready to add in the I-cord border, but you know what? I will just make a new one. And what size needles are these? Ones. See, I knew I was missing some size 1 needles, and I see some socks here too. I was wondering, because at one point I bought like 6 pairs of needles and I couldn't find any of them. So let's frog this little guy. This is gonna be perfect for my scrap bin. I've got 2 more here I'm gonna frog. Both of these are socks. I seem to have a habit of starting small projects and then not finishing them. So this one I do remember starting Halloween, I think 2023, and I never did finish it. Maybe it was 2024, I don't know. I think this is Pretty Twisted Yarns Witching Hour, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the mini skein. Either I paired it with this or it came with it, I don't know. So I think I'm just going to put all of the main color back into here and maybe hang on to it for next Halloween. I do have a little collection of like holiday yarns, which I'm excited about, which will be fun to pull out, or maybe I will donate it. I'm not sure yet. And then I have this, which is a really fun pair of socks and also a really great Black Pearl Magic bag, which I can now have back to use for sock knitting. This yarn is from Mustache. It's already wound into its cute little cakes. And it looks like I was trying out different things for this little stitch pattern that I like to do, which is just a slip stitch. And then it didn't really work out. So I'm just gonna rip this out entirely and set this aside as a sock project for another day. I think I'm gonna rip this one too, which I know is a little bit silly because I have nearly 1 sock done, but I don't think I wanna work on this right now. This is called the Endless Summer sock set and it's not summer yet. I feel like I'd rather start it fresh in the summertime. I don't know. I just think that's gonna feel so much better. Now I have another size 1 needle to add back into my toolbox. The very last thing is just this 1 skein, which belongs with my blanket of knowledge yarns, and I know exactly where it goes. We did it! I did decide to reclaim this basket. It's sort of like a little motivational piece for the next 3 projects I want to be working on, and I can set it out and look at it and remind and inspire myself to get these things done. I've got my plan, I've got my basket, I've shed a few ounces of yarn at least, and all in all, I just feel more organized because this other bin, the plastic bin that I sorted out when I first started working on my yarn stash when we got here, was kind of stressing me out. And I feel a lot calmer now and definitely a lot happier to be letting some things go. So thanks for following along with me in this process. I feel really great. Hopefully you feel really great. Hopefully you can maybe do some organizing with me. It's always fun and nice to go through your WIPs. And I think I'm going to be coming back in the coming weeks with some ways to motivate yourself to either work on your WIPs or work on your stash. So stay tuned. That could be coming soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!